This week we will be talking about generics and abstract data types. We are going to start by talking about collections. So a collection is an object that holds other objects, and that collection provides different ways to access those objects. So it provides ways to add elements or objects to the collection, ways to go through and look at those elements, and then ways to remove elements from the collection. Now, collections can have different properties. So they can be ordered, meaning that things have a certain sequence or a certain order that they're kept, or it can be unordered, meaning they do not have that sequence. It can be homogeneous, meaning it contains all objects or elements of the same type, or it can be heterogeneous, meaning it can contain objects of different types. And collections can either allow or disallow duplicate objects to be inserted into the collection. So in general, that's what a collection is. Now, Java provides an interface called collection, and there are some methods in that interface. There's more than just what I have listed here, but some of the most useful ones are add and remove, which allows you to put an element into a collection or take it out of the collection, is empty, which allows you to test whether the collection has anything in it, and iterator, which returns another object that allows you to cycle through and look at all of the elements in your collection. Now, there's a couple classes that implement this interface that are very commonly used. And each one of these classes has other classes that extend it, or some of these are actually interfaces themselves, and they have lots of classes that implement them. So there's the set class. A set is a collection that does not allow any duplicates. There's list. List is an ordered collection, so it is a collection of objects that are stored in a particular order. There is map. Map is a different kind of collection because it not only stores elements or values, but it also stores keys, and you need a key to access a particular value. There's a queue. Queue is what's called a first in, first out type of collection, meaning the order that you put things in determine the order that you get things out, and the things that you put into the queue first will be the first ones to come out. A stack is similar but the opposite. So it's also a collection where the order that you put things in determines the order that you get them out, but the order here is reversed. So the first things you put into a stack are going to be the last things you get out, and the last things you put in are going to be the first things you get out. So in addition to the collection interface, which has these methods and other methods defined and has a lot of classes and interfaces that inherit from that interface or classes that implement it, there is also a collections class, and note the plural there. The collections class provides methods that allow you to do things to those collection objects, things like search them for a particular element, sort them in a particular order, or shuffle them to mix them all up. Okay, and you can invoke these static methods from the collections class on collection objects, and we'll take a look at how to do that. So the first type of collection we're going to talk more about in detail is a list. So a list, again, is an ordered collection, and it is allowed to contain duplicates. Now, lists can be either heterogeneous or homogeneous depending on whether or not you use generics. So if you use generics, you can specify that your list should only store one single kind of object. If you don't use generics, your list can store different kind of objects. 99% of the time, you want to use generics and you want to restrict your list to only storing one kind of object. Now in Java, our list indices start at 0, so that's just like arrays. So the first thing you put into your list is going to be at position 0. The second thing you put into your list is going to be at position 1, and so on. And the list classes in Java allow you to access those elements through that index. So they allow you to add and remove things to the list, but they also allow you to access, say, the third element in the list, or the fifth element in the list, or whatever element you want to access. You're allowed to do that through the different methods provided in the list class. Now, there are two main classes that are very commonly used that implement the list interface in Java, and that is ArrayList and LinkedList. An array list is a list that's implemented behind the scenes using an array, and linked list is a list that's behind the scenes implemented using linked nodes. Now, those of you continuing on to the next course in the Java series will do a lot with linked nodes. We're not really going to do much with them in our course, but just know that array list and linked list, they both implement the list interface, and they both allow you to create a list, but their underlying implementation is very different. So the main difference between these two classes, array lists are more efficient at accessing elements. So if you're going to be always accessing elements in the middle of your list, array lists are a little bit more efficient. But linked lists are more efficient at adding or at adding elements to the middle of the list. So if you're going to be adding things into the middle of your list very frequently, linked list is better at that. So you really have to understand your problem and the task that you're trying to accomplish in order to know which collection or data structure is best for you. So let's take a look at um, creating and using a list in the first practice, which we'll pick up in the next video.